Jen, your thoughts on whether a kitchen like constitutes an additional unit?
Kitchen alone, no. The
Okay.
combination of kitchen, bathroom, bedroom,
Okay,
yes.
okay, so then
That's what I read.
should they be comfortable then, or and we can obviously have a conversation with Peter, but kitchen alone, not, I don't even think an additional bathroom necessarily is the issue.
And it's really all open,
think
so
it's-
there's a kitchen and a living area, it's
Yeah.
all one open space, it's not
Okay.
like a sectioned
So it's
off
just
kitchen.
one big finished
Yeah.
area
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you're doing here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Studio.
Well, it could be considered that, but it doesn't have the bathroom, so,
So
yeah,
there's also the issue if it was living space, it has to have egress.
yeah.
Right,
And
right.
it
Yeah,
doesn't seem
correct.
like it has that. So
And that's what I was told from Peter,
Right.
was he the inspector that came?
Well,
I don't see the need for this to go through as a conditional use.
you said the basement has separate,
Yes,
has its own exterior
yes.
exit
Right,
or
but if you-
entrance.
but if you add
So
a
that's your
bedroom-
egress,
Right, but if you
right.
add a bedroom, the
Right.
bedroom has to have an egress.
The window would have to be a certain
Window
size.
would
And
have to
it
be,
looks like
right.
it's all subsurface.
That could be depending on how we're not seeing the
I can't see the
back and how
full,
the
but
exterior
I'm
egress is.
familiar with the road and the
Yeah.
house driving by.
Oh. Spy
Will
units?
it have a sleeper sofa in it?
So,
But-
I mean,
And
basically,
no.
we,
We have 2 recliners that are going in there, and a big huge like farmer's table, kitchen table. For game night.
So I'm gonna look towards you for, guidance here.
yeah, so to be an ADU, you need to have, it's gotta be either in or in an attached structure or a detached structure, however, accessory to the main house, that's one piece.
Yep.
It has to be separate but connected, if that makes sense, so like if it's in the house, you have to have a separate door that separates it, so that you could live independently in that space. So hence the door. So like if it was just like big open stairway, no door between first floor, second and basement, open, flow, not an ADU. It's part of your primary structure. It's when you create that separation between the house, the main living area, and this other space. So think about like an ADU could be a family member that's living in it. It could be family members that are visiting, that you have like a separate space for them, but that's key, it's separate space. So it's not, ADU doesn't mean it's rented. It means it's a separate living area that you're creating, that someone can stay in, self-sufficient, so they need
Independent from the
independent from the rest of the house, so it
And
needs its own
accessory.
kitchen, its own bathroom, and its own sleeping living quarters. It could be studio configuration, so it doesn't have to be a separate room for a bedroom. But you've gotta have kind of those key components.
Yeah.
If you
I think
don't
the
have
fact
all
that
of
it
them,
doesn't have a bathroom.
Yeah.
doesn't have a bathroom,
And that it's
doesn't have a
I don't think it
bedroom.
fits. If it were gonna be an ADU, you would have to go through a process, part of which would say you must get, the septic system must be adequate
Correct.
for an additional bedroom.
Right,
And if you don't have that, then you couldn't put the ADU in anyway.
right.
Correct.
Well, I don't want an ADU.
Right, we understand that.
Yeah.
And so, so just to explain, like, what the board here has to do is kind of go through and interpret the zoning to say, is what you're proposing to do, cause it's kind of sort of, but maybe not, we don't know. So
Right.
they need to kind of judge and figure out that gray area to understand that, because there are different standards. And it's not necessarily about how you intend to use the property today, because we can't, as a planning board, we can't think about just today, we have to think about far into the future. So for somebody else to purchase the home and live there,
Well,
would they
it's
suddenly have that
in
accessory
a trust
dwelling
for her,
unit?
so you can ask her what her future is.
See, that doesn't matter, yeah, we can't judge that.
Yeah,
You have to go
I
based
have
on
a
what's
question for you. Does
proposed.
it have to meet all the criteria as provisions for sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation?
Yes,
It has to meet all that criteria
Yeah.
to be an ADU,
yes,
which this doesn't.
Yeah.
correct, I think that's what you're hearing.
It's point blank. It's the definition. Doesn't meet it.
Okay, alright, so I think you're good, I will have a conversation with Peter tomorrow, and hopefully he will be reaching back out to you soon,
Okay,
okay?
I thank you, I
All right.
appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you
Thank
for coming
you.
in, appreciate that.
we
So can
understand,
we continue the work, or do we have to wait for something
Wait,
in writing?
Cause I think he might have issued a stop work order,
He
is that
did.
correct? Like,
Yeah.
talk to Peter,
and it's very hard to find contractors.
talk to him, but I will reach out first thing tomorrow.
Okay,
Thank you, I
thank
appreciate
you,
it, everybody.
thank you so much.
Alright.
This is why she wanted to talk to them.
Yes. All good.
Chatty Cathy.
No, you did a pretty good job on your own.
Alright, next on the agenda, another conceptual review, does that stand for something? NCCG LC bathroom in garage. Hi.
NCCG stands for Nick, Catherine, and Claire Gottschalk, who are my three kids, in
Okay,
case you were curious.
great, and your name?
Elizabeth Rosens, I own it, well, it's a trust that owns the property, it's
Okay.
not an LLC anymore,
Alright, and this is on Lake Ivanhoe?
yes.
And what are you looking to, and I'll repeat this again, but just, because this is a conceptual review, nothing that we say or you say tonight is binding. But should you need to come back to us, it could be in a conversation, so, okay? Alright, so what is it that you're looking to do, or potentially looking to do?
Can I read my notes, just
Yeah,
because I wrote them
absolutely.
down and then
Yeah.
I won't forget anything?
Yep.
Okay. We're a family of 8, we have 6 dogs and 2 cats. My son, his wife, and their 8-year-old daughter is one small family. My daughter, her husband, and their 2-year-old son is another, and then my youngest daughter and myself are single. The house itself has 3 bedrooms. When I bought it, it was a 2-bedroom with a failed septic. And I replaced the septic, it's now a 5-bedroom because I used the land that I also own across the street
Okay,
for the calculation.
yep,
And I put a full bath in the walkout basement and a wall for a bedroom, so now it's 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms in the house. I'd like to put a bathroom in what I call the barn, but the seller called it his garage. You can't put vehicles in it, but he had like a shop on the first floor.
okay,
Where is the
Where
garage
is it?
in relation to the house? This is what we have for, on the tax map. Doesn't look like
Oh, it
the
doesn't
barn
show it.
shows on there.
It's right there, it's next to the house.
Oh, okay,
So you come in the driveway
Okay.
and you can park,
and it's a separate building.
it's a separate.
Okay.
How long has it been there?
At least
Okay.
70s.
No overhead doors.
No, you use it as a
Are
shop.
you getting taxed for it?
Yeah.
You know what, I don't know. I mean, when
tax map.
It's not on the tax map, so.
the assessor's picture shows it.
Oh, yeah, we are being taxed for it.
Yeah, the assessor's picture shows it, so.
okay,
Yeah, it was built, it was permitted in 2002, a residential,
The barn?
well, it says residential 1-car garage building permit.
Yeah, it's
In
not-
2002.
2002, okay.
Yeah.
It's not a garage, it doesn't have any, there's sliders to get into it.
Yeah.
And he had a propane heater, which I've taken out, it's not heated or cooled, there's no conditioned space. So what's been happening is that when everyone is there at the same time, usually one of the 2 small families will be in the barn, but there's no bathroom and they have small kids. So they've asked, can you put a bathroom in the barn so that when we're there, during the night, we can use the bathroom for ourselves, for the children, my grandchildren. And so that's what started it, was to put a bathroom. And I think it was maybe a year ago, I talked to my contractor and also to Peter. So I learned about ADUs and it can't be an ADU because it doesn't have a frost wall. There's something with, maybe I missed
Is it,
now
it's on
maybe I
a
don't
monolithic slab?
understand. It's a slab.
That's what they said, okay.
Everything about the paperwork I got when I bought the house and what's in the building file calls it a garage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's built like a garage, but there was never a garage
Well,
door.
it wasn't built to be heated, so, from the sounds of it. Cause you would put a slab in for a building you wouldn't wanna heat.
I don't know what the intention was for the
Okay.
guy that I bought it from.
Theoretically, you couldn't have got a building permit to, cause I built a garage and I had to put if I was gonna heat it, I had to put a frost wall in.
Oh, well, so there was heat, it was
There was
like a
heat.
wall, a
Well-
propane wall heater.
It
But I
can't
took
be
it out.
occupied space, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty,
No building codes that low,
So I know the codes have changed and they've gone
they've changed,
from-
but from 2000, it's been the same for that. So if it's gonna be an occupied, it could be a slab, but it has to be an engineered slab and it had to have insulation under it because it would be like a HUD certified, that's a lot of their slabs require 2-inch foam
Yeah.
matting under it.
yeah, and you still have to have
But-
your like,
You still have to
Footings go
have,
down
you
4
have to have the
feet
1
and-
foot thick
yeah.
on the end and
And
4 to 6 inches in the middle, but,
I don't think it has any.
right. So
Um,
that would be the reason it couldn't be, it's not to say you couldn't put a frost wall around it, but
I
be a lot of
know
work.
They come up 5 or 6 times a summer, the whole week of July 4th, it's become like a new tradition for us
Mhm.
to all be there. It's, like I said, it's 5 or 6 times a summer, it's not, no one lives there. I don't heat it or cool it, it's not, it's just when, it's because by the end of the time that we're there, we wanna still love each other. And because there's 8 of us and 6 dogs, and it's my son in particular, because he's the one with cats, and they don't wanna be around all the dogs, so those of us with the dogs are gonna be in the house, and he and his wife and my 8-year-old granddaughter wanna be in what I call the barn, the garage, when they come up.
So
That's the
is the
intention.
garage, could it be like a bunkhouse?
I think
That's
it
what I'm trying to
fits better under a bunkhouse than it does.
yeah.
if that's-
yeah,
What is the definition of
So
bunkhouse?
a bunkhouse is just a structure that you would sleep in. I don't remember what we limited it to for square footage.
I don't think
but
there is a square footage
We
requirement.
did have an argument about
Computer
whether it
just
could or
died,
couldn't
so
have
I
a
can't,
bathroom.
Look, I don't know, Doug, can you find it? It's on
Yeah,
page
so-
67.
Yeah, bunkhouse is not permitted to have any of the following, in a kitchen, so it couldn't have a kitchen. It can have, it looks like it can have a bathroom as long, but you're then considered to be adding a bedroom. And that, if you're doing that, then your septic would have to comply.
Well, she
It
already-
sounds like you
she's done
have
that.
that,
Septic is fine.
yeah, so you'd essentially be adding,
I mean, the
one bedroom,
long-term, the
two.
long-term goal, my son and his wife wanted to have a little house on that piece of land across the street. That's why I put in the 5
Yeah.
septic, and that's why I used that land, and I didn't, so it's no longer subdividable, cause I need
Okay.
it all for the septic system.
so there are some other requirements to meet that definition, so a bunkhouse or bunkhouse area, if included in an accessory structure, shall not exceed 260 square feet in floor area.
That
It's
doesn't
bigger
work.
than that.
No,
Well, that's the area that's used for it. So if
Yeah.
it's just a bathroom, maybe a bedroom, it would work for it. You might have to
And you could,
separate
But it has a second floor with stairs.
Well,
Like
what is
it's-
it? Is it bedrooms or is it storage?
Right now, it's just storage.
Okay, so
so
what we're saying is the 260 square feet is what you would incorporate for your designated area for, like, if you wanted to add a bedroom in there, you could. But your bathroom and bedroom area cannot exceed 260 square feet inside, so you just have to put a wall up.
and the other area would still be considered storage, like that's an option,
Okay,
alright? Just some other, so I would encourage you to take a look at the bunkhouse regulations, because there are some other things in here that states, if a bunkhouse is contained within an accessory structure, such as a garage, shed, etc., the bunkhouse area shall meet all fire and carbon monoxide safety regulations that a primary dwelling would be required to meet. What else?
so that's the main
It's-
thing,
it's
like, if you
seasonal.
have people, yeah, if you have people sleeping in there, you wanna make sure it's safe for people to sleep in there.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
bunkhouse says you can use part of the building
Right.
to be used.
Yeah, so you can use part of the building.
Yeah.
You can heat it, but it's not something you're gonna heat year round, because it's not, I don't know if we put it in as seasonal, it should be seasonal in there somewhere.
I don't think it specifically says it's seasonal or not.
We went back and forth on that, I know we did,
It's
but
not, yeah, it's not intended to be a primary residence.
it's,
So it
There's New
doesn't-
Hampshire
it doesn't
defines
really
bunkhouse.
fit a bunkhouse either, though.
why not?
What?
I don't think, it's
Peter
too
called
big.
it,
No,
Peter's,
but hold on, though. So if it's is it a two-car, is it the size of a two-car garage or a size of a one-car garage?
it's a 1.5. You
Okay.
couldn't get two in there, but
So-
you can,
So
very
What, 20 by
comfortable have
20?
one.
Yeah.
It's a little smaller. I
Little
thought it
smaller
was
than that?
20 by 20
Yeah.
because that's what the design said in the permit.
Okay, so the inside
But
would be
it's-
smaller.
No, I think it's like 17 by 19 is what ended up getting built.
So
'Cause
it's
I
getting pretty
originally
close
was
to
working
down
from
to that
those-
260.
Yeah.
They ran
out of concrete.
So 17 by 19 is 323,
Right.
would be the
Still.
footprint.
So
Yeah.
that's,
It sounds like
Off
it's
by
more for
60.
farm workers and business that have workers, if you define something as a bunkhouse.
No,
No,
it's basically
it's-
overflow.
it's
So it's-
overflow on.
I mean, on
that's
all,
how
every
they
lake
measure.
around here has got
Yeah.
bunkhouses everywhere, and
Yeah.
they're all pretty much about the same thing. They're like a space of a one car garage. A lot of them have bathrooms. I mean, we very much beat this subject up a couple of years ago. But the intent of a bunkhouse is to be able to have your family come up, have a space for them to stay, have a bathroom so the kids don't have to run across the yard in the middle of the night. And that's it. It's not meant for living. There's no kitchen. There's no, the heating system. Yes, you can put one in, but again, it's not something that, it still has to meet all the building codes when you're putting stuff in. So it's not like you get to do anything less. And because it has a slab, it can't be used in the winter it won't ever meet the requirements for building codes. Unless you put a frost wall in it, so that would be a huge upgrade that I don't think you'd wanna go, but, again, I mean,
We'll use it
it's,
in the winter.
right, and electric heat's pretty simple and easy to put in,
I use it for trash in the winter, that's where the trash cans go. I know, but it works.
but yeah, so I mean, that's the intent of it, so I believe that this very much fits in there, and if, I would definitely take your measurements again. I don't remember if they said inside or outside diameter for square footage.
It would be the,
living space.
it would be the living
It'd be the living
space.
space.
So the inside, so you'd wanna get your inside measurements of where your space is, and which, if you took a foot away from both the numbers you just gave us, we're really close to the number that's allowed.
That means I'd have to put the bathroom, everything would have to be the first floor, the bathroom, it's a sleeper couch.
Yes.
Just a pull-out couch, and then nothing upstairs, it would just be.
Upstairs would be
So-
storage.
Upstairs
So
is
you have the-
storage, yeah.
So as the regulations state, you can do whatever you want. If you wanna use the upstairs and that gives you enough room and it's, 260 square feet or less, like you can use the upstairs and leave the downstairs as is. That's up to you. There is another option, if you exceeded that amount, you could go and ask for a variance from the zoning board of adjustment. So say that, if you were gonna build out the entire ground floor and it happened to be not 260 square feet, it was 290. And you're like, wow, this doesn't make too much sense for me to add like a closet for storage, I want to be to use the whole amount. You could go to the zoning board of adjustment and ask for a variance to exceed that square footage. I can't tell you whether they would accept that or not, but I just wanna let you know that is an option that you could consider.
So the
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense, the upstairs is where I
It's,
wanna
it's
go,
not, that's
the
a
sleeping
town
area
rule.
and the bathroom.
Okay,
So that was the question I was just gonna
Yes,
ask, is the
and
sleeping
that's-
area going, well, is the
that's
bathroom going on the first floor or the second
I
floor?
want the bedroom and the bathroom up the sleeping, cause
That's
it's
why you
like
can, that's why she can get a variance.
upstairs,
Okay.
which is probably less than two
Yeah, because
sixty,
it meets the
because I
definition.
don't count the
It
whole
does.
staircase, right?
You don't count the
The
staircase.
staircase cuts
Right.
it, it's a much
Yeah.
smaller space.
Yeah, so you don't
But
count the
that's where we-
staircase, you don't
you have your
count
hand up.
bathrooms, or no, you'd count the bathroom, you don't count closets. So
There aren't
staircase,
any
closets,
It's
and the other thing I'm not certain about, do you have
a
like?
gambrel, yeah.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say, do you have the knee walls or
No,
is it
it's there's.
full height walls?
It's almost I would say it's almost a full height, it's probably
Okay.
like
Yeah.
The floor goes all the way out,
6'2",
there's no
Okay.
straight up
There
and down.
is,
It's
yes.
all on an angle, or is it?
It's a gambrel, and
Yeah,
then
so
it's
there's a
probably good.
wall, and
Okay,
then
so you get
there's-
less square footage
sorry,
upstairs.
So you
there's
definitely have
upstairs.
less square footage, so you may be
Upstairs.
close to 260
Yeah.
upstairs.
So she's 290, if I took away a foot on each dimension.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, it's close enough where I think a variance would probably be the easier way to go and not have to try and.
Or a closet.
Or a closet, yeah, exactly. Well,
So
and
not
that's
a bunk-
actually,
not a
I haven't
bunkhouse.
deducted the space of your stairs yet either, so I don't.
Yeah, it would
That's
be,
true.
it would be a bunkhouse,
So
it
you're,
wouldn't be an ADU.
yeah, it would be a
No.
bunkhouse.
Be a
It'd be a
bunkhouse.
bunkhouse.
So under the New Hampshire State Code, it has, a bunkhouse has no shower or bathing facilities, would that be considered
Correct.
to have a bathroom?
Oh,
Oh.
so not a no shower in the bathroom.
That's New Hampshire.
Right, but we can, like our, let's see, what do we say here? It doesn't.
Each
talk
town
about-
has the ability
Yeah.
to come up with its own.
Yeah, it has to be
And-
equal or stricter
To
to state.
correct.
She can't be more generous,
No, you can't be more generous, so if it has.
right? So if the state says no shower,
So we can't have
what
a shower,
statute is
but
that?
we were talking,
This looks like 1,208.
It's actually, it's the tub they want to wash their children. I could not have a shower and just have like a washing tub, I don't know. I'm trying to
But
make
does
it more
it, does it
comfortable.
talk about washing facilities or is it?
It doesn't, it just says has no shower or bathing.
well, you know what, that
It says-
could be in your
it
storage
says
space in the
serves
garage,
solely
'cause
as a
there's nothing that says you can't do that in a garage.
supplementary sleeping area for residents, which
So the
that's
bathroom
what it is.
downstairs.
Has no kitchen or other cooking facilities,
It's a
and has
loaded
no
question.
shower or bathing
Yeah,
facilities,
I'm
and has
confused.
no interior connections to the residents.
So wait, can you say, no
So there's-
shower or bathing facilities?
That's correct.
So that to
Okay.
me would mean no
That
bathtub.
includes no bathroom, okay. Okay.
So Ralph, we're not really in a public hearing, but if you have a question,
It's an important question.
Yeah.
Would you consider, so that the slab, they wouldn't allow a living space because it's not, you can't create that heat envelope.
Mhm.
But with a second story, if it's exposed studs, exposed floor joists and rafters, you can create a heat envelope with the floor system, the walls, and the roof.
the problem is the slab still moves and
It
your,
could move,
your,
yes.
and your septic pipes and your water lines all going through it would not be protected.
Okay, so that kinda answers my question. I was
Sorry.
wondering if it would be
No, this is.
But-
more,
Yeah.
more applicable as an ADU if you could live with that heating envelope.
but as long as you drain the water in the, like, every fall, like, you could have a bathroom.
That's a Peter question, cause that's a building code question.
Yeah, exactly, that's beyond our.
That's, I mean,
So-
I'm somewhat familiar with that stuff, but I'm pretty sure you can't, if it's just no.
Without a frost wall.
You have to have a frost
can't
wall
get
or
on
frost,
the
you have to have
side.
frost protection,
Okay, so even if you're saying, I'm going to use this bathroom seasonally,
correct,
it's a question, I don't know.
because you still, it can't,
So how do
there's
you-
no statute for that,
So how do you put a half bath in a garage? Cause that
have a
doesn't-
frost wall,
Oh, it does, you would
it would have to have a frost wall.
the garage.
I mean, you need to make sure your pipes don't freeze.
It's not even so much the pipes freezing, it's the fact that your concrete slab, when it freezes, moves up and down and sometimes side to side, so as it does, as it moves up and down, it would
The pipes
separate
are
your
like
pipes and now you'd be leaking sewage underneath your house and who knows how long that would be before it gets caught.
Because that
Or your
does-
water line could break and then now you're flooding and undermining your foundation,
But if the
So I
ground
already
freezes,
have
not the
water
concrete.
in this space.
okay? But you don't use it
Comes
in the
up-
winter,
No, I don't use it during the winter, and and when the bathroom is there, I wouldn't use it in the winter either. So,
but I'm
I'm
just saying, as far as
confused.
permitting it as a ADU, you could.
Oh,
Well,
I
not
don't-
even, not even that, but I think
We're
what
not
you
going
might be
down
getting
that
at
road.
is, because it's a slab, even if you were going to drain the water every fall, you're still potentially concerned about the actual hookups
The pipes,
that could.
so things still move, whether
Right.
whether there's water in your pipes or not. Your foundation, there's
Right,
groundwater
yeah.
in the soil, it's going up and down.
that I know.
So-
So how does it work for a bunkhouse?
So typically,
You couldn't have a bath,
you can't have a bathroom in
you
it.
could have a bathroom, a half bath.
You have a
but
kitchen,
can't have a
so the
shower
difference,
or a
the
tub.
difference between, so the difference is gray water versus black water. Black water meaning sewer water,
Right?
gray water meaning like
Washing
shower
machine,
or
shower, yeah,
washing machine, dishes, yeah.
cooking water. So, okay, the this is a lot of
So,
information, I'm trying
and
to
so the
keep
other
it.
thing is,
So
I don't know if you
half
have
bath-
the plans when that was
Sorry.
built, it was built in 2000s, it's possible.
No, the
doesn't-
garage
The
was
garage,
built.
exactly.
Oh,
But it
yeah.
doesn't match the plans
So-
that are in the file, that's what I learned when I went and measured it. It
Okay.
does not match this
So,
garage in the file.
I guess the other question would be, did they put the foam insulation protectors around and under it? It's possible, I doubt it, but it's possible. So, you know, you wanna verify that, cause if it does have it, then it would make, it just changes how the building code would look at it, and what you could
still
do.
have the same, she still has the same problem.
It's
Because
still,
she's
yeah,
looking, if all you want is a half bath, a toilet, right? There, I don't know if that, maybe you can't pull a building permit.
well, she's looking
put it
for a
in.
full bath, cause she wants a tub.
I understand that, but under those circumstances, can she have,
It sounds
a
like I
tub.
can't have the full bath. It sounds like the
not
bathing,
unless you put
the
it,
bathing
not unless you
facility.
consider it an ADU, and that means
Okay, so that's okay, so back
completely
to the half
rebuilding
bath.
the whole thing,
So
which you clearly don't wanna do that.
it's
Well,
like, no,
I guess you
it's
could
really,
look to see if it has.
I mean,
So the thing to do would be to find out exactly how it was built. If
Okay.
it has the foam, and then there should be a plan on file somewhere for it. I don't know if it's in town hall or where. But if it does have a foam underneath the slab, then somebody spec'd it out. That's not something you would just do.
can I dig and look and take
Yeah,
pictures?
absolutely.
Okay, I can do that tomorrow.
But that would tell you that, okay, you have it there.
Mhm.
If it's not there, the other option would be to hire a company to come in and pour a frost wall underneath it. They can undermine around it and pour a wall around it.
It's not worth doing all that.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
I mean, I love my.
I'm just
job,
saying it is an option, so,
Outhouse.
yeah.
Right, I actually looked into one of those composting toilets, thinking, that'll do, like, I don't know what you guys need. Okay,
I mean, as it is, I don't think there's any laws against having a sink in a garage.
it's really the toilet
Yeah,
that makes
Yeah.
the difference for the kids.
Okay.
when
So I get,
but
I would-
again, you're talking gray water versus sewer water, so I'm like, you know, if you're looking literally for like a sink type facility, I mean, I don't know. I know it's feasible to do it separate, I mean, my father put in a bathhouse, so I mean, somehow it goes through, I just don't remember how he did it.
so a couple thoughts. One is I would have a conversation with Peter, the code enforcement officer, and ask him requirements for putting in a bathroom, for putting in a half bath. What I don't know is whether, because that building is on a slab and there's potentially no frost protection, would that be a concern? And you know, you could explain to him that your plan would be to use this seasonally. Again, I don't know if there's any requirements around that. If there are, this is a question, like, would it be possible to, like, basically section off an area of that garage, dig up the floor, like cut out the floor and dig down 4 feet? And so, and
I
basically
don't-
create a small area for.
So,
Thank you for trying to
All right,
help
no,
me
I-
figure that out.
I mean,
It's really
it's,
just 5 or
I-
6 times
Yeah,
a
yeah,
summer
no, I get
when
it.
you're
I
on
get it.
top of each other.
Compost
there are
toilets
ways
is
to
good.
do it,
does.
but I mean, I know my father, when he put in a dual bathhouse, so it's got 2 showers, 2 bathrooms in it, so, and we have property across the street where everybody comes and camps. But that's with a frost wall, it's technically it's a 2-story, I don't wanna use the name we call it,
Wait,
but
it's a bathhouse.
it's a bathhouse, it literally is just for that purpose, there's no living
But
quarters.
it must be connected to your septic system.
It is. The septic system is absolutely astronomically huge as a result of it, because it fell under some other commercial type ruling.
Because that actually is an interesting idea,
But
cause I could do
that's,
that
so that's what I'm
near
saying,
the
if
garage.
I don't know how that would work with the slab. And I mean, part of what Doug was saying might be true, I don't know how feasible it could be, it probably would be a lot easier to do an addition on the side of the barn, where there's already water going into it, and that addition could have a frost wall, or it could be a separate building.
Oh, that's interesting, a little addition, like a
Like a,
It's
like a
connected.
10x10 addition that's got everything you need and a frost wall.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
So
I mean,
that might
right
make
now-
more sense, it's probably gonna be a lot cheaper than trying to do
Yeah,
all
it
the other
would be.
options that are
The
I'm
most
hearing,
expensive thing right now is connecting it to the septic system
correct.
because of the excavation.
So the other option would be, you might not wanna put it on this, attached to the garage, you might wanna attach it to the house, cause the house probably has a frost wall, which would make more sense, it's a lot easier to attach a frost wall to a frost wall.
If it's attached to the house, they're just gonna leave the barn and go to the house during the night.
Right, yeah.
Which is not, you know,
But you still have the problem of you can't do a shower or a
Yeah,
bathroom, because
I
you don't wanna
that
do an
doesn't
ADU.
matter, that
So
was a last minute, like,
right.
oh, wouldn't it be cool to also have a tub, you know,
Sure,
wouldn't it be cool to have a lot of things?
Right, and
But
the other thing
bathroom
too
in
is,
the middle of the night is,
I
It's
don't
nice.
think,
toilet in the middle of the
It's
night
very-
is
yeah,
really,
it's
that's
really
the
makes
key.
a
I don't think you
With
can
a 2-year-old
attach,
especially.
a slab building to a
Non-frost,
frost wall
okay.
building, so, because they
Right,
move differently,
yeah,
so.
yeah.
With 4 walls you can,
What's that?
with 4 concrete walls you can, as long as it's full rectangle. You
Oh,
can't
'cause
just
then there's
attach
a little
3
gap
to the
between.
slab, but you could put 4 outside by. That'd be its own.
Right, it can't be attached to the building though, cause they move differently.
Oh, I see. 3 inches away?
Yeah, so to me, I would start with Peter, ask him what would you be allowed to put in a half bath
So
in a
he,
building?
that's what, I've already done that, and and he sent me here.
Okay,
He said, you're talking about a glorified bunkhouse, is what he called it. And you need to talk to the planning board about the half bath.
so the
So I-
bunkhouse zoning went in not that long ago, like when did you talk to him? Was it recently?
Yeah, it's been a
It
couple
wasn't,
of years.
it wasn't
Yeah, a
years
month
ago,
ago.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
alright.
When did the state one come out? Cause I
So,
don't, we
I didn't
looked
find
for-
that
we-
when I just,
I don't,
but I was
what
looking at
state
my
said
phone.
it?
I can email it to you guys.
Do you know, Corey Ryder?
Yes,
So he's my
Let me see.
contractor.
okay,
And he talked to Peter said to Corey, it looks like an ADU. And I said, there's no kitchen, it's not conditioned, it's, you know, a
Yeah.
couple, whatnot.
Yep.
And then Peter said, okay, this now sounds like a glorified bunkhouse, go talk to the planning board, and that's kinda how I got here.
so I will say, and I'm speculating, cause bunkhouses don't speak to bathrooms in the town's zoning.
Yeah,
Okay.
They don't, yeah, so there's no mention about, so that could be why. It just says no cooking facilities, it's sleeping facilities,
right,
so.
we left it
he's-
open for bathrooms, but when
But
we
it's where it's
discussed it,
not so the way zoning is structured though, is if it is not explicitly allowed, it's not allowed.
That was NHDES.
That was DES. Oh, so that was administrative rule
Yes,
for bunkhouse,
yes.
which, for the subsurface rules?
It's just the New Hampshire Code of Administrative Rules.
What's the code? That was DES. What's the number again? The 1,000 makes more Oh, sense. so that was a,
Yeah,
one
I
thousand
was
what?
questioning that too.
it is ENV-WQ 1000, oh jeez. Let me find it again for you.
That's okay. I don't have internet on my laptop right now.
No, I know we definitely, had a lot of back and forth on it.
But if it's not in there, if it isn't listed, then you can't do it, because that's the way the zoning is set up. It's not like, if it's not listed, then you can do it. This doesn't prohibit
Well,
things, what it
well,
does
It doesn't mean it can't be
allow
done
things.
without you can't get a variance for it.
It also gets
So-
to, there's that, but it also gets to the prior conversation we had at the last meeting about bathrooms and accessory structures. And whether that's allowed or not allowed, and the ordinance is silent on it, and so this is now the second time we're having a
Well,
question
we-
about that.
You have a lot of problems now where septics and such, where this would be close to the waterfront, right?
Yeah, but our
Where
septic's
they,
out in the back
yeah,
property.
septic is, but like you said, where it has a floating slab and something breaks, now that leaches into the lake.
Well, so that would be a Peter question, whether the building
Yeah, that's a
can be.
building code.
That's a building,
Yeah.
code. And they do make adjustable sleeves for electrical, I don't know if they do it for plumbing, so.
So my main
It's still gonna
electrical
fall
panel
within
is
that
on
250
that
feet
structure.
anyways, it'll meet
Right.
the shoreline.
And
And
it's
it goes underground,
trenched.
yeah.
It goes underground, it's
Yeah,
I did
so
that a
on
year
on
ago.
that structure, you'd look and there's a sleeve where the PVC
Right.
can go up and down, so I don't know if they do the same thing for the septic. But that would definitely be
We have a lot
a,
of administrative rules of DES.
Do you need it? Yeah.
yeah,
No,
that's a
I'll get
question
there.
for someone that
Yeah.
actually does septic design and,
So Seven Lakes did the septic
You see it,
system?
you can-
Yep.
Would
Yeah.
it be,
Okay, I just wanna
Just look at
see.
my
circle back and talk to
You
me
You
about
can, you can hit
I
that
wanna
search
see
and
which,
make
I wanna
up.
see which
they
section
might
we're
know
in.
the answer. I
So
don't
They
know
may,
the
they
answer.
may not be
Yeah.
the ones
So
that do
this
the
would
Right.
apply,
So Peter
Just
should know where to
bunkhouse.
direct you,
yeah, no, I
For
lost
that.
about that.
You can just hit the thing. There you go.
but I'm concerned hearing this, cause it sounds like the state has come up with a rule that we weren't aware of.
Well, they changed the
it's in-
substrate laws in the last year, where you have to, it's pretty strict now. You have to disclose all your septic stuff.
I know it's different because, was it, Victor? Vincent?
Yeah, Vic.
Yeah.
Victor? So when I bought it, I went and talked to him, and the rules are different now, it's true, yeah.
Yeah,
And,
everything changes.
Yeah,
So this is
'cause he
in
was like, bathroom in the garage, go for it.
definitions.
Well, he might not have been like that,
Yep, you get
I didn't feel like there were
So-
hurdles like this.
it. Alright, you saw the section.
Yeah, so, alright, that's not state law, that is state administrative rule
Mhm.
for subsurface systems, for septic systems. That's how they're defining bunkhouse. So if, my guess, and this would be a DES question, just to give you more questions to ask of people. So my guess is that if you were to put in a full bathroom, it would no longer qualify as a bunkhouse as far as DES is concerned. And so they would be looking and treating it differently when they're talking about septic loading.
Yeah,
So that DES rule won't preclude you from having a bathroom under your town's zoning ordinance. The question now is,
I wonder
the
if
way
that's,
this is written as a bunkhouse,
yeah,
where it's silent, the question to you as the planning board is whether it's a half, 3/4, or full bath. Can you have a bath
so
facility in a bunkhouse, the way the ordinance is written?
the
I
way,
think,
the
I
way
think
I'm,
you're saying it's not right now.
well, what I'm hearing though is I think what
It's gray.
DES is trying to get at is they're trying to say that you cannot consider it under the standard calculations for a septic system. So a bunkhouse might be considered 1 bedroom by old definitions, but how many beds are in it, so they might have to look at it that way. I'm sure there's probably more to that we didn't look into, we gotta look
Yeah.
into it. But it might be like, if it's, depending on the size of the bunkhouse, they might figure, okay, is it 3 bedrooms, is it 5 beds? That's what they might be looking for.
I didn't mean to look at NHDES.
No, it's
I'm
okay.
the conservation
But,
commission.
you know what, at least we found it now, so we didn't approve something that you got red flagged later on down the road, so. We gotta find these answers out.
If we back up to it just being a half bath, does DES still apply under the bunkhouse definition? Is that what you're telling me?
If you disturb any soil there, it's gonna be, because you're on the lakefront, it's gonna be a DES issue,
Yeah, you need a,
Doesn't matter how far from the lake?
250 feet.
It's within 200.
no,
I
yeah.
can see that.
If you're doing things all interior, you should be all set with DES, but you may wanna just double check if you need to do like permit by notification.
Well, if there's no
If you
septic
do
lines
anything
now,
outside and start digging in the ground outside, you are definitely gonna need to talk to DES about a shoreline permit.
What is the definition of digging? Cause I'm meeting with a fence company tomorrow.
Disturbing the soil,
So is that a fence?
yes.
yes.
No, I don't think
Well,
a
it
fence
depends,
is
so,
gonna, no.
well, it depends on your fence, actually.
Well, hold on, whatever you disturb the soil is,
Well, I mean,
that's
they-
considered.
So
have
if
to dig a
you're,
hole to
if you're
put the
digging a
post.
hole in the shorefront, you need to
Yes.
contact them.
Within 250 feet?
I don't think
I
hand
don't believe
tools
that's true.
requires it.
I think if it's hand.
No, hand tools
if it's
don't,
hand
I-
tools, you
That's,
don't need a
it
permit.
is, it's
No.
all hands.
Then you
to
don't
do.
You don't need a
Okay,
permit
hand
for
tools,
hand
no.
tools.
Okay,
Sorry.
Fence is
Fence
not
is
a
okay.
problem.
It's a big
That's for the
trench to dig
six-
by hand.
that's for the 6 dogs.
It might be, but
It can be.
it isn't if, maybe if it's, even if it's within the 50 feet.
If
it's
you're
hand
doing
done.
something and you say by hand and you say, geez, I really wish I rented that whatever
Yeah,
piece
so
of
you
equipment to do it for me, you probably needed a permit from DES.
I would
and
assume
the hand
that
tool
the
would
trench
work.
would be pretty long.
The trench?
Yeah, where is your septic located?
It's right across the driveway, the tank is right
Across
across
the
the
street?
driveway.
No,
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 the tank is
The
on
tank
the
is
same
right
line.
across from it, maybe
Oh.
25 feet away.
But still within the
So
two
you'd
hundred
have
and
to
fifty
dig
feet.
a 25-foot
At least.
at least.
So when the electrical service trench was dug, I didn't do anything with DES, it was Eversource was part of that process.
So did the electrician pull a permit to do it?
Yes, and then Eversource had to,
It's possible he did it without the shoreline permit, so you might wanna look into
Wow.
that, cause sometimes they go back and catch you on that.
It's
Okay.
permissible as a utilities crossing.
What's
it
that?
is,
The electrical, underground electrical is permissible as a utilities crossing,
Right, but you don't need a permit for it?
as long as it's permitted through the building department where you.
Okay, yeah, so it fell under the building permit, yeah.
okay,
There's some,
There should have been, if you pulled a building permit, you were within the 250 feet
this number you
anyways
need to call, but you'll end up talking to him.
this is for any of
for
the,
DES.
DS subsurface, and Derek Clay is the guy that'll come out and inspect everything.
In fact, I just spoke to him today about septics in lines anyway, so it's,
so this is who I talked to about trenching the bathroom line to the
Anything
septic
regarding
tank.
septic.
Thank
he's
you,
a sweet young man.
this is
But as
becoming
far
way
as
more than
if
I
Peter said,
expected.
sure, a bathroom could go in because it would be allowed, a seasonal bathroom, even though it is a slab, in our zoning, we don't allow it. So I think you'd still need to get you'd still need to get a variance.
I think to be safe, where it doesn't. So here's the thing, it explicitly says a kitchen is not allowed, and it's silent on bathrooms.
Yep.
So the question is it implied that maybe you can have a bathroom? Because it says,
That was my intent. when we
yeah,
went
so
over
it says a bunkhouse is not permitted to have any of the following.
Okay,
And the only thing that's saying you're not permitted to have is a kitchen.
I'll go back and look at the minutes, because this was a discussion at several meetings, and see if anybody decided to add that bathroom, even though it's not in the ordinance.
I remember this getting
So-
added,
yeah,
cause I know this is
Yeah.
one of the ones that
so I
that
mean,
Victor sent us to like type up and
Yeah, we
plug in
didn't
for.
we didn't have anything on bunkhouses.
So it wasn't
We had
that
nothing.
old.
so,
Right.
and
No,
David,
couple years
I would agree with
Yeah.
you, like, it specifically says it's a definition, an accessory building to a single family dwelling, providing extra sleeping quarters for guests staying in the principal building, providing no cooking facilities. We don't say no bath facilities or
Correct.
bathroom
And
facilities.
what does the state say? Code?
The state says no showering and bathing.
Yeah,
So you could have
So
like
So you
half
have to
bath.
be
could do it
equal
half
to the
bath.
state,
so I think
Well,
or
Well, is that
they
an
keep the
RSA
list.
or is
or
that
that,
a?
no, that's not,
that's a
that's
guideline.
that's environmental, that's administrative rule. So
building code, does it have?
So what it would come down to is this guy here could tell you, if you have a bunkhouse, but you put a shower or a tub in it, how are they gonna treat it, and do you have adequate septic to deal with that? Because their definition of bunkhouse says no shower or tub.
I don't understand.
So
Sorry.
just to,
Sorry.
Yeah.
you need to talk to this guy, but ultimately,
but-
my understanding of DES is as long, it needs to make sure that whatever is being done, the sewage is treated properly.
Right,
And and they wanna make sure it's got numerous excessive amounts of safety features as far as it is not going to impact the lakes in any way, shape or form. So, he definitely should know a lot more than, us,
Okay.
cause that's his job.
Yeah.
And, I mean,
So I'm gonna tell him what I'm trying to do.
correct.
yes,
I've got this garage. By after tomorrow, I'll know if it has a frost barrier or not. And I wanna put a half bath. And there'll be a new line from the structure to the tank, cause it won't be going like it's not in the house.
Right, so again,
And-
all of that, you're gonna wanna talk to him.
Yeah.
And then he'll probably ask me a million questions too.
Probably.
So I think what I think is very important here is that your primary structure, the dwelling unit has three bedrooms, and you have a
Does
5-bedroom septic.
Right.
So make sure he understands that.
Yeah.
Cause I think that's gonna be very
I
important.
I think based on what I'm understanding of that rule is that might be your saving grace is the fact that you have an additional 2-bedroom space in that septic system. So if the bunkhouse, and that's the issue with a bunkhouse is, I mean, some bunkhouses can have 10 beds in them. So it's like 10 people
Right.
potentially using, you know, that's not a single bedroom calculation. So I think that law is probably in there so that they have a chance to review it. And then come back and make sure that it is within specs of what is adequate.
If I talk to him and he says, you're fine, do I then go tell Peter that I've met with you, that I've talked to Derek? And that a half bath is okay as long as there's no shower or tub?
You would want some kind of email from him at least.
Yeah, you wanna get something in writing from
From Derek?
DES.
Yep.
From, from anyone at DES, something in writing that essentially says your septic is adequate for what you're planning to do. Whether that's a half bath, 3/4 bath, or full bath. And so if you explain what your he'll probably have your existing septic
System,
permit
yeah.
files and know what you have.
Especially if it was recent.
Yes, exactly. So they'll know what you know, if it was recent, they'll know what you have, all of their files are in a monster database and quickly searchable. So they'll know what you have. They may or may not know what's already in your house and what you're proposing to add for capacity. The other thing, just to make sure you mentioned to him, is that you are within the 250-foot shoreline. And ask him just for some guidance on what you may or may not need from the shoreline folks for either a permit by notification or a permit, or who to contact to get that.
Also, you might wanna have, if you or Corey figure out the actual square footage of living space on the first floor, so minus yours.
Second floor,
Second or first,
yeah, whichever floor you're using.
whichever one you're gonna use,
I'm gonna
but
measure them.
it's, it sounds like minus a staircase and maybe a closet, you're probably well within the acceptable size, so.
I think I'm gonna be, I think that piece will be okay, but it's good to verify.
Do you have something else?
I was just gonna offer her an answer to a question Derek's gonna ask her.
Okay.
He's gonna ask you whether it'll have its own inlet into your tank. And there's numerous inlets,
I
there's
think
outlets and inlets.
I think it will, I don't
You
think.
don't wanna be coupling into an existing
No, I don't think it
floor edge.
will.
So I was
Because-
gonna write that down on a piece of paper for you.
Um,
He'll be asking you if the floor edge will be its own separate.
Well, he's gonna want a septic designer to plan it out, but he's basically gonna be able to say, yes, this is feasible, so then she has to have a plan done up.
I'm just,
Do we have an alternate
Based on-
application?
based on
An
some
alternate
experience,
application
it is a question he'll
Mr.
ask.
Fogg?
Will it have its
No.
own inlet?
Yeah.
I don't,
If not, can we
but I can
take
guarantee
side
you
by
he'll
this?
ask. He'll ask that question.
I,
My name is
this is a meeting,
Gilbert, Gilbert,
no
Gilbert,
public hearing,
Gilbert,
I wanna
Gilbert.
get out of here.
No, I'm
Making
not
jokes.
like that.
I know, that's why I'm waiting for the.
Alright.
Yeah.
So, alright, so I think if I can maybe try and recap for you, you got a couple things.
Okay,
So you need to separately talk to DES
okay,
about your septic system and what you're proposing to do.
That's the
And the
I'd probably-
bunkhouse
that's
ties
the-
into
I'd
that.
specifically ask
Conversation.
about whatever that rule was on bunkhouse.
Yes,
You need that answer.
get a rule on, yes. And
The understanding of that rule.
exactly, the understanding of that
Define it as-
rule, but also if they say, okay, well, you're only putting in 4 beds and your septic system is at such and such a capacity, if they say, sure, you have enough capacity in your system that we can permit you to also have a shower or a tub,
Right.
get that in writing.
They might limit you to the amount of
Yes.
bunk beds you can have, so that's something that you just wanna
Yes.
find out.
So their approval is separate and distinct from Peter's. But Peter will be taking it, he can't permit you to do something that the state then in turn says no.
so do I get this permission from the state first
Mhm.
and then permission
Probably
from
best.
Peter?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
This probably isn't happening this summer, is it?
It
could.
may.
It could, so the
They're-
biggest,
they have
biggest thing is
rules
you
about
gotta,
turnaround time.
you gotta speak to
Yes.
him, you
Yeah.
gotta find out what's allowed and what's not allowed,
Yeah.
according to DS. The next thing to do, and probably at the same time, cause you're gonna be waiting for callbacks or whatever, get a hold of Corey and see what the actual square footage of the first floor would be, or second floor, wherever you decide to do your living space. And then, again, you'd have to figure out how the slab falls into play, if you can or can't. I'm not gonna say it's never been done, there's mobile homes built all the time on slabs, it's just they usually have a foam barrier, or they have to have a frost barrier under them, so I don't know how that would impact this one. It's possible to add a frost barrier around them too, so, all things to consider.
There you go. So you're gonna get
Well,
that
I'm-
information from your contractor.
Yes, and
You're gonna talk to someone at DES about septic.
Derek,
You're gonna probably need to talk to someone at DES about shoreline.
so that's not Derek.
Not Derek,
He'll
but.
put you in touch with the
He'll
right
put you in
person, you'll
touch,
call
yeah.
that one guy, he'll transfer you to the
And
right
I'll tell you, the folks at DES love when you call and ask questions, because they much rather you call and ask a ton of questions than get a permit that,
Doesn't allow, yeah.
that doesn't work.
They're very helpful.
Yeah, they legitimately are helpful.
Okay.
So those are those ones, and then you'll come back to Peter. And I guess the question here for the board is thumbs up or thumbs down on bunkhouses have bathrooms, and that's what Peter needs from you.
Yeah, so I
I'm
would
saying
say
thumbs up.
thumbs up.
Okay. So that is the piece that
I argued that pretty thoroughly, I don't know why it didn't get put in there.
Doug can transfer to, or someone can transfer over to Peter.
Yeah.
To say, we think
Yeah.
this is a bunkhouse
So
and
It
bunkhouses
sounds
can
like
have
we don't even
bathrooms.
know what the real definition of a bunkhouse is.
Well, I think we
No,
need
we
to
do.
start a
Code.
list of like
So
what
there-
needs
there
No, no,
fixing.
you have an interpretation,
So
but
I
do we know
think,
for fact?
so I
The
think,
state didn't have one, that's why we had the issues.
looking at this DES site, if I'm interpreting this correctly, what from a septic usage or septic requirement, if, let's see, for like a one bedroom, if it was a one bedroom studio, you would need septic to be able to take on 225 gallons per day. For a bunkhouse, they're saying 60 gallons per day per person. So I think what they'll probably ask is, how many beds?
Yeah.
That's still less though, cause it's 3 people, which is 180.
Right, and
Well,
so,
right,
so
but-
likely they would, this is a hunch, is that you have more than enough septic
Capacity.
capacity to allow
So
for this.
even if you had 5 beds in the bunk, you're still below the amount of a bedroom.
I don't remember the name of the guy at Seven Lakes, it's always the same guy. But I need to send him a thank you note, because when he came and looked at it, I was just replacing same. And he says, you have enough land, how big is your family? Do you
Right.
think you might someday
Absolutely.
add
Yep.
Yeah,
the
I wish more people in the Lakes would do that.
increased cost
Yeah.
to go from a 3 to a 5 was
Right.
like,
yes,
just do it.
yeah,
That's
I
good
know,
advice.
we had the same issue with our lakefront, of course, we had to go to the property across the street. We had the issue where we didn't own the roadway that crossed it, so we ended up taking ownership of the roadway, which was a
I don't know
nightmare.
if I own the road, the piece of road between me and the other side.
Probably not, but, so we ended up taking up a very
It's
large section of the
private,
road.
but it's not town.
And which also came with 19 people with beachfront access on a separate property, which is an absolute nightmare, but, you know, there's a pipe that goes across the roadway and it's legal now. So the septic system's the size of a tennis court, the
That's gonna
field
be-
itself,
That's gonna be a common thing going forward,
yeah,
they're gonna have to
But
put them across the street.
it's
hopefully-
capable a lot more.
so hopefully we've given you
I think I.
more than
I-
enough info, but at
Yes.
least some direction
Yeah.
to take.
Yeah, I
So,
have a lot of.
sorry that it took us a while to get there,
I
but
don't think
No,
it's an
this is-
unreasonable thing to do, I think it's very feasible to get it done, it's just a matter of making sure all your
the
ducks in a row.
Ts, yeah.
yeah,
Two things,
yes,
what is the rule on a composting toilet?
That's a building permit issue, we don't
I'll
have.
ask Peter,
It's not a zoning issue, I'm sure.
yeah.
okay,
Yeah, it's a building permit issue.
And
I'm
then,
sure they're allowed because.
I don't even think that's a building permit issue, it's allowed because it's not attached to the house.
Yeah.
right, it's just, it
It's
a
has
great
no
way to go.
plumbing,
The,
it
the
has-
thing to
I
think about with a
that's what
composting toilet is it has to be maintained and that has to go somewhere.
I know,
So do you want to handle that,
I
or do you
looked
want it
into
to
it
go into a
already.
tank and you never have to touch it?
no, I looked into
The
it,
kids can do something, they come up, burn it.
right? You want a bathroom? You take care of that. And the other, I just wanted you to know, I spent 8 years on my planning board in
Oh,
Massachusetts.
great.
And I just really appreciate the way you
Well,
guys
thank you.
helped me out here
Yeah.
to look at the code
Yeah.
and figure out and then that whole, like, I used to struggle with the, I can't remember the name of it, but like, it's purposely, there's room for allowing things, right? There's like,
Variances.
The variance,
not the
right?
variance, no, it's just that the language is meant to be interpreted.
Mhm.
And I used to think, no, it needs to be really, really clear, but then these things
Nothing,
happen,
there's nothing that fits in the same box.
ever,
Yeah,
So-
ever, yeah, so anyway, thank you very much.
well, thank you.
Alright,
Good luck.
thank you, good night.
Good night.
Write down the question, let me answer that.
All right, anything under board business? I don't see anything.
There isn't, but I do have Priscilla's,
Okay,
for you to sign this and then everybody to sign next, that goes to
Okay.
Valerie.
all right, so we'll pass this out in just a moment. Any correspondence?
No,
All right, approval of minutes from April 3rd.
I move approval of the April 3rd minutes.
Okay, any further discussion?
You seconded it?
I did, oh, you,
Josh
You
did.
did?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
okay. All those in favor?
I,
Aye, all right, thank you. And then next meeting date is May 1st. Is there anything on the agenda at this point that you know of?
no, but I do have one for May 15th,
For May 15th?
a conceptual review.
Okay,
Well, you're making it sound like there's something significant here.
Well,
anything that you can speak to now, or?
it's a
you gotta sign this.
subdivision
Okay, all right.
What am I signing?
on Old Stage Road.
Anywhere.
What's going
Oh, I
on,
see.
McDonough over here on,
McDonough.
yeah, McDonough.
All right, yeah, have a good night. So just
good
one,
night, Doug.
all right, so I think that's it, we have the next meeting dates, May 1st. So motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Yes.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you very much, Dick.
Does anybody else?
Did you second it?
Yes.